continue on the series that we've been on, talking about bridging the performance gaps in your leadership team. We talked about an assessment-based, data-driven approach that we call critical alignment that we use to be able to train boards and executive leadership teams and leadership teams in an organization. And one of the things we wanted to do is break that down into more of an individual level and a manager direct report level, so you could really be able to implement some of these, not just looking at the team as a whole. So last episode, we talked about 2 ways to create a clear communication culture. And with that, we looked at specifically, whether it's through an assessment or not, looking at having a list of people on your team and that you report to that are peers, colleagues, or direct reports, ways to communicate with somebody, and more importantly, ways not to communicate with somebody. And the thinking behind this is really starting to look at the moving from that golden rule mentality to the platinum rule mentality. I'm not going to communicate with somebody based on how I like to be communicated with. I want to try to have empathy, and I want to reach out and I want to meet them halfway and communicate with them in the way that they would like to be communicated with. So today we're going to give you 4 do's and don'ts to prevent miscommunications. 4 do's and don'ts, how to prevent miscommunications. And so we're going to go through 4 kind of big rocks, major groupings for behavioral and communication styles. And we're going to give you some 3 do's and 3 don'ts for each of those based on some kind of people reading behavioral clues that at least get you in the ballpark. And we have a cheat sheet here. And Tom, tell our listeners a little bit about the cheat sheet and what they can do to get what we're using today for our episode.
Absolutely. Dave, so this is a sheet that we use with all of our clients. It actually is part of their report. And I always tell them, hey, make a copy of this, have it in your desk, have it in your satchel when you're on a call with a client so that you can refer to it. It's a very easy way to assess the type of people you're speaking with in regards to how they would prefer to be communicated to. So it's a neat little sheet that can do a great job of at least getting you started in working with that person in a discussion or a conversation, getting it off on the right foot. That's the way we like to look at it.
Okay, no, it sounds great. Well, like I said, you've got our information below. Just reach out and ask for the cheat sheet for communication, and we'll be more than happy to send you that PDF right over to you. So when you're looking at the way people deal with problems and challenges, okay, that's the first, that you have people that are direct. And you're like, okay, that's great. I can pick up a report. I can look at it. Right? But what if you don't have that information? You're dealing with a client, you're dealing with a vendor, you're dealing with a prospect. How do you find that out? Well, here's a couple of behavioral clues. If you're trying to communicate with somebody who is ambitious, or at least they come across this way, you don't know them for sure because you maybe don't know them that well, but they come across as maybe being ambitious or forceful. Maybe they come across as being decisive or really kind of strong-willed, kind of independent and goal-oriented. What are 3 things that they should do to be more effective in their communication?
Well, right off the bat, with a person like that, we want to be clear, specific, brief, and to the point. You don't want to be talking about yesterday's ball game. You want to be right in there talking about the specific things that are part of what you want to communicate to. They don't have a lot of time. They don't want to waste time. So you want to be very clear with them. Another thing to keep in mind, another factor, is to stick to business. Don't wander off the ranch, so to speak, but stay on task, on target. That'll help them get what you want to share with them in a short period of time. And that's where they're going with this. They want to get it done in a short period of time. Finally, the last one, be prepared with support material in a well-organized package. So make sure you do your preparation ahead of time, that you walk into that meeting or that one-on-one conversation with them, that you have your ducks in a row, so to speak, and that you can demonstrate you've done your homework and you're ready to communicate to them valuable information in a short period of time.
Oh, very true. This is one of those ones we talk about being clear, specific, and to the point, having that executive summary, boom, but then also having that data behind there so they don't have to read 59 pages to get to the point. They can get to the point, but you have the well-organized support material. So when they ask deep probing questions, you have it, and you look like you're on the ball, you're well-organized because you have all that material. So exactly. What are some factors that, let's say the don'ts. We talk about do's and don'ts. So those are the do's. Those are 3 do's on communicating with them. So what about 3 don'ts?
Sure. So 3 things you don't want to do with that type of behavioral style, that high D, is talk about things that are not relevant to the issue. Don't start bringing up another project and mix it in with this one. That's not going to be effective when dealing with a person like this. Next, leave loopholes or cloudy issues. So in other words, you don't have all the answers, or well, we'll get to that later, or that's something I haven't really thought through. That's not the thing you want to be saying to that type of person. And lastly, appearing disorganized. If you walk in there and you can't find something, or oh gosh, I guess I forgot to download that yesterday to my laptop. These are excuses that person is not going to have patience for. So those are just three things you don't want to do with that type of behavioral style.
Yeah, things that are just a turnoff. And like I said, those are ones that you can, if you avoid those, you can certainly prevent miscommunication. All right, so the next one, how do people look at people in context?